Hey everyone, and welcome to today's science lesson on states of matter. Um, it's a TAPS investigation, but instead of leaving you to investigate it yourself, I'm going to guide you through this. And the focus is on biscuit dunking. So a bit of a warning, you're going to require biscuits. So let's get started. Have you ever dunked a biscuit into a drink? Okay, I know I have. Consider the following. What happened to that biscuit when you dunked it? Why? So why did it happen to the biscuit? Are some biscuits better dunkers than others? And everybody's got an opinion on this. That they believe that this biscuit is a perfect dunking biscuit and this biscuit is not. Okay, everyone has. Everyone's got differences on that one. Does the type of drink make a difference to how long the biscuit lasts? You know, if you dunk it in tea or you dunk it in coffee or you dunk it in water, you know, does it affect the biscuit? Does the temperature of the drink make a difference? You know, if it's in a cold cup of tea, does that make a difference to, let's say, if it's in a warm cup of tea? How does that work? We all know that these are vital questions that do need answering in life, okay? Absolutely vital. Especially for those of us, like me, who consume cups of tea and coffee by the gallon every single day. So why do it? Why biscuits? Well, to be honest with you, it's a fun way to explore the scientific method. It gives us the opportunity to understand the basic experiment and looking at variables in this, so things that can be changed and that can be looked at. It provides you, that's the children, with the opportunity to evaluate your approach to an investigation, suggesting improvements to your method, that's your approach, and the accuracy of your testing. So, what's the problem? Well, you all know that I love a brew, okay? I don't think there's a child in Key Stage 2 that doesn't know that by now. And to be honest, there's many children in Key Stage 1 that greet me by saying, "You like cups of tea." It's true, yes, I do. Now, I'm not. I'm like most other teachers in school. I do love a good biscuit. Okay, some teachers and many of you and your parents at home love to dunk biscuits in your drinks, usually in tea or coffee. I've got to be honest with you here. I don't, but there's a reason for that. But, and this is a massive but, many don't like the biscuit collapsing into their drink, and that's my problem because I've yet to master the optimum time to dunk it for before it collapses into my brew. And because I don't have sugar in my tea and coffee, I don't want biscuit piled up at the bottom. So this is a major problem. So timing is absolutely critical. If you dump too long or with the wrong type of biscuit, you're going to end up with a sludge pile in the bottom of your mug. And that situation is just, it cannot be allowed to go on. It cannot be allowed to continue. So this is where you guys come in, our chief investigators, our chief scientists of the day. So how can we approach this serious investigation? And I do mean it is serious, okay? First, we need to think of a question to investigate. So at this point here, it's a good idea to have your worksheets from your pack in front of you. And this is the one with all the boxes on it at the start. So first, we need to think of a question to investigate. So think about what that question could be. Now, remember, we're looking at dunking and we're looking at biscuits and we're looking at what liquids it goes into. So pause now and have a think about what that question might be. Right, well, for me, the question might be, which is the best dunking biscuit? I think that's a vitally important thing for everybody to know. And how long can biscuits last before they collapse? That's a key problem in my timing because I've yet to finalise that. Now, these at the moment are very open, very generic questions. We will focus in a little bit later to a more specific scientific question once we've identified what we call variables, things that we can change. So we start off with a general question and then we narrow it down to exactly what it is that we're going to be looking at. So variables, these are things that we could change. So pause now and think, okay, I'm going to do a biscuit dunking experiment. What parts of my experiment could I change in that experiment? So for example, the type of biscuit. So pause now and have a think about the things that you could change. Right, so this is the first set of boxes at the top, and you can see there's 4 boxes, 2 on top of each other, and it says variables that we can investigate. So the type of liquid, the drink. So, you know, are you using Coca-Cola, water, tea, coffee? What's your liquid? The temperature, how hot that liquid is, okay? Is it scalding hot? Don't do that, please, without parents. Is it lukewarm tea? Has it been outside, you know, in the middle of winter for several days on end and is absolutely freezing? Okay, what temperature is it? The volume of the liquid, so how much liquid there is. You know, are you drinking a small cup of tea or are you drinking a Mr. Simmons size sort of water butt size cup of tea? You know, how much liquid is there? The time the biscuit's dunked for. You know, have you left it in there for just a quick dunk, bit of a wet of the biscuit, or have you left it in there for a good 5 minutes and then wondered why it's disappeared? So the time that the biscuit's in there makes a difference. And the type of biscuit being used, okay? Are you using a digestive? Are you using a rich tea? Are you using a cookie? What type of biscuit are you using there? This then brings us into other things about what technically is a biscuit, but that's for another time. So the independent variable, we need to think about, okay, which one of these things that we can change are we going to change? Which one are we going to focus on, okay? So we need to choose one of those. Now, which one of those that you choose is entirely up to you. So for me, I'm going to choose a type of biscuit being used because it's the easiest one to change, okay? Some of them are a bit more difficult to change. But in truth, you can investigate any of these and you're welcome to do so. I just personally am going to choose a type of biscuit. So I would also possibly use the temperature, but it's easier to have thermometers to be able to do that. So for me, biscuit type's the easiest. So taking measurements. So, okay, you decided what things could be changed. You decided that I'm going to focus on the independent variable of the biscuits. That's the thing I'm going to change. Everything else then is going to be kept the same. So now we have to start looking at, well, okay, how am I going to measure some sort of outcome? Yes, I'm going to dunk my biscuits and I'm going to change my biscuits, but how am I going to know whether or not one is better than the other or whether one lasted longer than the other? What form of measurement am I going to use? Is it going to be something like time, or is it going to be something along the lines of which one happened first, or the sequence in which it happened, or is it how much biscuits left? That's entirely. You have to have something to be able to measure. So pause down, think about other things that you could measure to get an outcome for this experiment. So for me, I looked at the time it takes for the biscuit to collapse, the order of biscuit collapse, if dunked all at the same time, and the number of dunks before it fails. So, that one collapsed after one dunk, that one collapsed after 17 dunks, that kind of sort of thing. It might be also how much biscuits left. So after 2 minutes, that biscuit is almost entirely complete. That biscuit there is almost all gone. You might even look at percentages or fractions. You've been doing that within your maths recently. So just see how we can get that in there. Now, now that you've selected your independent variable, and then you're going to select your recording type. So for me, my independent variable, the thing I'm going to change in my fair test, my experiment, is going to be the type of biscuit. The measurement type I'm going to use is the number of dunks before it collapses. So fair testing. I mentioned that previously, and I'm going to mention it now. Now, in order to make this a fair test, every other thing that you can change, all other variables have got to be controlled. They have to be kept the same. So if I'm changing the type of biscuit, it means that the temperature of the water's got to be the same. It means that the volume of the water's got to be the same. It means that the type of liquid's got to be the same, and the time per dunk has got to be the same. I can't have one going, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I've done 5 dunks, and then the other one going 1, 2. You get the general gist of it. So fair test is about keeping everything else the same other than the type of biscuits. So you need to dunk them in the same way. You need to have the same temperature of liquid, the same volume, everything like that. Okay. So a focus question. So taking a general question at the start and developing it into a question for scientific inquiry. Okay. So our variable is the type of biscuit and our measure is the number of dunks until collapse. So can we use the above to create a question to investigate? Pause now and have a go. So mine is, and there's a box for this, how does the type of biscuit affect the number of times it can be dunked in a drink before it collapses? It is a specific investigation. It's not which is the best dunking biscuit. It's which one which one can have the highest number of dunks before it falls to bits. We are investigating something very specific. So things to consider. What are you measuring? How long will how will you know each biscuit is better? What did you find out? Which biscuit appeared to work the best? How did you know? What properties of the biscuit do you think are important? Is it thickness? Is it what it's made out of? Is it the fact that it's covered in chocolate? What could that be? Can you use any scientific words to explain what happened to the biscuit? So things like dissolve. What went well in your investigation? So which part of it went well? It might be simply that you actually enjoyed having a go at doing it, okay? But thinking of the science behind it, well, what worked? And maybe have a think about, well, what could I have done differently if it didn't work so well? And how much do you trust your results? Were your results accurate? Or did you eat all your biscuits before you started dunking? So this is the plan sheet. And as you can see here, the top box there is our investigation. That's a generic question. Then you've got the 4 boxes. What variables can we change? So you put the variables in there. And then the box that comes below that, what we will change. So in this case, the number of biscuits, which is here. Then you've got how we could measure it. We went through that. And then what you're going to measure it with. So in my case here, it's the number of dunks. This then is where we put our scientific question in place. So it's which biscuit can have the highest number of dunks before it collapses. Then what you're gonna keep the same. So what other things are you gonna have to do? So it might be you're gonna have to keep the same temperature of the liquid. It's gonna be the same amount of liquid, the same type of liquid, the time taken for dunks. They go in there. Then what you need to do is make a prediction. I think that whatever type of biscuit will last the longest. I think this because, and then explain why. And then write down any keywords you might have here. So for example, dunk, dissolve, temperature, volume, etc. Now, this next sheet here is once you've conducted your experiment safely, under guidance, hopefully, of an adult, you write down in your results sheet the type of biscuit, and then you write down the number of dunks it took before it collapsed. Then what I'd like you to have a go at is drawing a bar graph to show your results, okay? So up the axis here, that's not what I meant to do, my apologies, let's come back. On the side here, what you will have is you will have the number of dunks. Going down here, you'll have your separate bars. So each bar will be labeled. That might be digestive. That might be cookie. That might be rich tea, whatever else it might be. And then draw your bar charts going up. Leave a space between them. The final bit of this is what conclusions did you find out? So, okay, you've done your experiment and you've looked at it. Well, what happened? Tell me what occurred. And then can you try to explain that scientifically, why you think that might have occurred? It's all right saying, well, the rich tea lasted longest. Great. But why do you think it lasted longest? You know, is it more, are the grains within it more tightly compacted, so it makes it harder for the water to get in? You know, what is it about that biscuit that you think makes it more difficult to collapse when it's in liquid? Then the final bit is, what would you change or improve if you did it again? So it's whenever we do a scientific experiment, things don't necessarily always work out, and that's okay. It's about understanding, well, we did this, this worked, so these are our results. However, that didn't work quite so easily, so how would I change it in the future? So I really would love to know what you discovered. So please make sure that you send some photographs or videos of you doing it and pictures of your finished work via Seesaw or Class Dojo. I would love to see what you're doing. And as head of science within school, I'm really excited to see how this turns out. Include photographs of your investigation. Take care with hot liquids. I must specify this. Make sure that you have adult supervision if you are dunking biscuits into hot cups of tea and coffee. Also, and this is kind of key to it as well, remember not to eat all the biscuits. Otherwise, you can't do the experiment. Good luck. I look forward to seeing what you find out. And let me know which is the best dunking biscuit or how long that biscuit takes to be dunked. See you later. Bye.